So you're thinking about living in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, but you don't necessarily want to live in a larger town like a Harrisonburg or a Stanton or a Waynesboro. Well, in this video, Leslie and I are going to follow up on our Towns Between series and talk about several of the towns between Harrisonburg and Stanton, and we're actually going to rank them from highest to lowest, best to worst, most to least. Those four towns are Dayton, Mount Crawford, Bridgewater, and Mount Solon. And if you hang around to the end of the video, I'm going to do my best to summarize each town in 5 words or less.
Stefan, in 5 words or less.
Yeah, I get it. I don't talk too much. So, but anyway, hopefully you'll hang around for the end of that because you probably won't want to miss out on it. But we're going to get started right now. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to know everything there is to know about living, eating, sleeping, playing here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, then click on that subscribe button and touch that bell icon so you can be the first to be notified about all the current real estate market here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys. Hi, my name's Stefan, who talks too much.
And I'm Leslie, who apparently doesn't talk enough.
And we get phone calls and emails every day from folks just like you, who are looking to sell a home here in the valley or in the Piedmont area, or to move into Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys, or to move across town. And we absolutely love it when we get those calls. So whether you're looking to move in
9 days or
90 days, just pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text, send us an email, and we'll be happy to help you with your real estate needs here in Virginia's beautiful mountains and valleys. So as I said earlier in the video, today Leslie and I are going to rank 4 towns between Harrisonburg and Stanton. These 4 towns go back to a series of 3 videos that we've done on Dayton and Mount Crawford, and then Bridgewater and Mount Solon. And additionally, we've done a map video that kind of shows you where things are in these towns, and really encourage you to go back and take a look at those videos because it's really going to fit in and help you understand this video even more. So, but that being said, we want to start out with something. Obviously, we're talking about real estate, so we want to start out with something that is very important to real estate, and that is the price of the house. And so we're going to go ahead and rank these 4 towns, but first of all, let's just look at some of the towns in general, okay? And so, Leslie, tell us a little bit about Dayton.
Well, we're going to talk about the houses in a zip code, not necessarily in the town itself, because inside the town itself is pretty small, but the zip code is a larger territory that it's covering there. So let's talk about Dayton. We have an average price in that zip code of 22821 of $235,000.
Yeah, that's over the last 10 years. You see about 400 houses that sold over that period of time. And then we go to Mount Crawford. You see Mount Crawford's quite a bit smaller areas, whereas Dayton went up into the Appalachian Mountains. Mount Crawford is a smaller area, and the average price there is about $304,000.
Right. All right, next is Bridgewater, which is around $265,000 over the last 2 years there too.
Yeah, Bridgewater is the largest actual individual town of all of the 4 towns we'll talk about. We'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. And then of course there's Mount Solon, and you can see the area of Mount Solon. It's a very small town, and watch my video about the map video. You'll learn a little bit more about the history of Mount Solon. But it sits down. You see a lot of it through the Appalachian Mountains, and you can see there's not over the last 10 years. There's only about 10 or 11 homes that sell in that area, in that entire zip code every year, and those homes are sold for about $236,000. So when you sum it all up, going from most expensive, I guess would be the lowest rank, and we'll go to the least expensive and the high rank, okay? Because that's where your bargain is. but we start out with 4th place is Mount Crawford, followed by Bridgewater, followed by Mount Solon, and then Dayton comes in at the most affordable, okay?
Right.
And of course, there's a lot of different factors that figure into those, but kind of get an idea of the different towns and how much each one would cost for the average house, at least over the last 10 years. Of course, prices are a little more than that right now, right?
Right. He's averaged it over 10 years, so take that into consideration.
Yeah, but like I say, that gives you a history and idea of where the towns are. Now, on the next slides, I just want to take a look at it. I thought it was kind of interesting. When were the homes homes, because that'll affect prices as well. When were the homes in these towns built? And so when we take a look at Dayton, for example, you see a lot of homes that were built in the 70s. But if you also look, there's in the 1990s and in the 2000s as well. And there's some newer homes and newer developments out there as well. And I talk about that and some of those homes in our blog video and that video as well.
Sure.
Look at Mount Crawford again, a lot in the 1970s. The whole area up here, a lot of homes were generally built in the 1970s, but a lot of homes built in the last 10 or 20 years as well. So you may find some newer homes in Mount Crawford, and that may be part of the reason why some of the cost of the homes, because there's fewer homes there, why some of the price is more than some of the other towns. Bridgewater, college town, Bridgewater College. Just consistent building going all the way across there, 60s, 70s, little drop off in the 80s, but then 90s, 2000s, again, constantly growing town in the area. And as I said, it's the largest town as well. You can see the population is about almost 9,000 people, and in the town, about 6,000 of those 9,000 people live in the town of Bridgewater. And then finally, there's Mount Solon. Mount Solon is the town that used to be, but it's a beautiful town, and the areas around it and everything. But there's only about 2,500 people in that entire large zip code. But if you look again, you'll see in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, you're going to see a lot of homes being built during that time as well. And of course, because we live in an area where there's older homes, especially out in the countries, most of these you're going to see a lot of homes that were built before the 1930s. And these are where we find a lot of our historic homes. And many of these homes are, while there are some in neighborhoods and some in the towns as well, there's a lot of these homes that are farms and things like that.
Some of them have been refurbished, and some of them, they're just charming. They really are.
Really. So I also wanted to give you an idea of how many homes are in the zip code. And of course, that's going to follow the population of each one of the towns. And of course, Mount Solon is the smallest, so they have the least amount of homes, followed by Mount Crawford, smaller area as well, Dayton, and then Bridgewater, college town, and largest population. So they have the most homes available in these four towns that we're talking about. Here's an interesting one.
This is interesting.
Yeah, let's talk about the median age. They're going to go from oldest to youngest, and I'm sure they're probably all younger than us, right?
Absolutely.
But that doesn't mean we're not hip. Whatever, moving on. So, kind of interesting though. Mount Solon is the oldest town, about an average age of about 41 years there. Mount Crawford, boy, it drops off quite considerably.
It does.
And you can find younger people there. More working town, and so you find more there. Dayton, even younger yet. And then finally, doesn't make sense, Bridgewater, being a college town, they have the youngest population of all of the four towns.
All right, so let's discuss the post-high school education in each one of these towns. Last is Mount Solon. Yeah, and it kind of makes sense a lot. It's a very rural community, and there's a lot of farming that goes on out there, and so it follows the path. A lot of trade, type things. Number 3 is Mount Crawford.
Yeah.
Number 2 is Dayton, and number 1, no surprise, Bridgewater.
Yeah, think about that. I mean, 1 out of every 3 people that lives in the Bridgewater area has an advanced degree. Exactly. And so, but like I say, gives you an idea. Just another thing that kind of lets you, without actually being there, kind of gives you the feel of the town and what you might come to expect in that particular town. So Leslie, have you been tired of seeing Mount Solon in the last place every time? I love Mount Solon. I know, we love going out there too. And so, but we decided to change it around here and go to the most rural, okay? So the least rural is going to be Bridgewater, okay? And obviously it has the largest population and most going on there. Followed by Mount Crawford. There's a lot of industry in Mount Crawford, although it's a small town, a lot of industry. Dayton has the town center, and then it has farms all throughout the rest of it. So I would say it's the second most rural. But finally, there we are. We got Mount Solon in first place. They are definitely the most rural. Here's the thing: if you're looking to get away from things, and when I say away from things, I mean off the beaten path too, because while Bridgewater and Mount Crawford and Dayton, all of those have pretty quick access to Interstate 81, you're looking at probably another 10 or 15, maybe even 20 minutes from Mount Solon. Yeah, from Mount Solon to get to like the interstate and to get into town. So you're definitely looking in Mount Solon.
But if you find a house that comes available in Mount Solon, it's a rare occurrence.
Yeah, like we talked earlier, 10 or 11 homes a year that have sold. And so if you're looking to be in a rural area, Mount Solon's a great area, and there's some great views out there too.
And then again, as a realtor, jump on it if you see something you like, because it's not going to last long.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the case in all these towns too. Things have been going very quickly.
And I just showed a house in Bridgewater this week when we're taping, and in 48 hours it was under contract.
So be ready. Be ready. So Leslie, I think another important thing for the folks to know is about some of the bigger businesses in the area and some of the major employers. And the information that we're giving you here comes from the Virginia Employment Commission. And there may be some things people on here is like, well, this particular place didn't make the list. And so I don't know if it's 100% comprehensive, but at least at this time, that's the information that they've gathered. And so there are other businesses as well, in addition to these, that are very large employers in the area as well. But of course, starting out in fourth place again, or Mount Solon. But you don't go to Mount Solon for business.
No.
You go there to relax and to enjoy nature. You really do. And so let's go into third place. You've got Dayton. Even though Dayton's the second largest town and second largest area, it has 2 of the top 50 businesses out of these 4 towns in Virginia. You have big old Cargill plant there. And you drive up Route 11 there, and Route 42, and boom, there it sits right on the road. And you will definitely know that Cargill is in the Dayton area. And then number two, 3 from the bottom, 2 from the top, is Bridgewater. And Bridgewater, I thought being the larger town might have a more interest.
That surprised me.
Yeah.
But Purdue Products, if you like your chicken and turkey, they are one of the main processing plants here in the area.
Yeah. And you got Bridgewater College, and you got a Marshall's DC. I'm surprised I wasn't on the list. It was in previous years as I looked at previous year's list, but you can see that right as you're driving up and down Highway 42 as well. But there are, in the smaller town of Mount Crawford, there are 9 of the top 50
That's crazy.
employers.
When you put that up, I was like, okay.
Yeah, and one of them is Walmart. Of course, there's different Walmarts, and this is all of the Walmart employees from Rockingham County. But there's also, the reason I bring Walmart up is because there's a distribution center, huge, right along Interstate 81 there. And again, you got another Cargill plant.
For turkey.
And as you can see, there's a whole bunch of other major employers here in the area. So, like I said at the beginning, the Shenandoah Valley is very vibrant economically, and generally there's no shortage of being able to find a job. I'm not saying that it's always easy to find a job, but there are jobs that are available here in the Shenandoah Valley in this area. So one of the things that's really important to people who live in areas is the parks and recreation, what's available there. And a lot of these towns are a lot smaller towns, and so there's not a whole lot available in some like you would find in a larger town, and it just makes sense because it's more rural living. But with that being said, who do you think is going to be in last place?
Solon?
Wrong. Now here's the thing. You can maybe make an argument for this, but to me, and I'll explain why. So Mount Solon, they have a Ruritan Park there, and they have a Munger Park. And the park there is basically like a baseball, soccer, athletic fields for the kids there. The reason I put Mount Solon in third place is because they have the Natural Chimneys Park.
It's beautiful.
And the campground there.
Yeah.
And take your kayak or your canoe and literally right off the road there and put in the North River and you can kayak. You can hike the trails that are out there, and there are large areas to play games or throw a football or play baseball, whatever you want to do out there at the campground, So I really think that, Mount Solon, it's close. I mean, both of them have, like one park, right? But maybe 2 in Mount Crawford. But I just think there's more opportunities in Mount Solon. So with that being said, let's move to Dayton, okay? Dayton actually has 4 parks in it. They've got Rushville Park, they got Sunset Park, they have Dove Park, and they have Cooks Creek Park. And interesting thing about Dove Park, it sits not in the middle of town, but just off to the side of the town there. And it has a gazebo, and they do band concerts there in the summertime. And a lot of the different, some of the festivals and things kind of go all around that park. And so Dayton, for a small town of 1,600 people, to have 4 parks. Now, they're smaller parks.
Sure.
But to have 4 parks is kind of a really neat thing, I think. And finally, last but not least, the granddaddy of them all,
Bridgewater,
for a small town of 6,000 people, it has at least 9 parks. And they're doing really good jobs spreading them out all over town. And for example, Wildwood Park, if you look at our video that I did on the town of Bridgewater, you're going to see a waterfall over an old dam there, and it's just right there, and it's just real pretty there in the North River. Additionally, there is Sandy Bottom Park. Sandy Bottom Park is a little park there, but they also have a putt-putt course, and then one of my favorite things, they have a little par 3 there. And
played it in the rain. Leslie sat in the car.
But I had fun. But anyway,
Plenty of fun.
Anyway, like I say, it doesn't cost hardly anything to play, and it's kind of fun to get out there. But like I say, really nice job in Bridgewater as far as their parks go. So let's talk about restaurants.
All right.
Something near and dear to my heart.
Around all these towns and, checking out all the new restaurants or ones we've never tried. It's a lot of fun.
So which one have you eaten at in Mount Solon?
None.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I don't mean to bad. We love Mount Solon. We really do. We really do. Mount Solon is a great place. It really is. It's just, again, it's not a business area. So that being said, Mount Crawford is next on the list. They have a lot of industry.
Yes, they do.
And with that industry, you can see they got a couple fast food restaurants and a pizza place.
Farm.
Yep. Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, that is one place. It is not showing you on the map. So that is the ice cream place that we always go to, Smiley's, which was originally in Mount Crawford. It's technically in Bridgewater now, their new building.
But Mount Crawford still has the creamery where you can go and get raw milk and cream and things like that. So you can still go to Mount Crawford Creamery.
Exactly. Kind of a neat place. So, and so that leaves Dayton and Bridgewater.
They supply milk for the ice cream at Smiley's.
So that being said, Dayton and Bridgewater.
Okay.
The last two. All right.
All right.
Who's going to be number one? Who's going to be number two?
Bridgewater's number one.
Okay. I think you're right because Dayton, just on a number of restaurants now.
That's something right.
You probably have, if you live here in the area, you probably have your favorite restaurant in one of these two towns, and I'd love to know what those restaurants are. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
leave us comments.
It may or may not be mine. But I know in Dayton, there's a place we love to go in Dayton.
We do. We love the Dayton Tavern. It is a refurbished older building. The downstairs part, they've refurbished it. That has a lovely seating area inside and outside on nice days. And they have a nice bar there as well. And she does catering for weddings and events. So I go in there sometimes without him. And I watch her doing all those. It's a fun place.
No, and I love the Dayton Tavern too. We really enjoy our time there.
They have the best pimento cheese.
They do. It is very good, very good.
Their dinner hour.
But that being said, that leads us to Bridgewater. I think Bridgewater has the most restaurants, and so that's probably why you got to give them the nod there. Maybe your favorite restaurant is in Dayton. Maybe your favorite restaurant is in Bridgewater. But like I say, on the amount of restaurants, Bridgewater has a lot of them. One of them, a really neat place. Look at my map video. I talk more about the Cracked Pillar Pub, a little bit about its history. Francesco's is another one, and Magnolia's Tacos. It's three of the restaurants again in the town, and of course there's fast food and things like that there as well. But Bridgewater has the most restaurants, and you're going to find something to eat there.
Those college kids are not going to starve.
No, they're not. So let's talk about shopping.
Okay.
Okay. And so you go to Mount Solon, shop till you drop, right? No, sorry, no, really any shopping over Mount Solon, but Mount Crawford, really, there's not much in Mount Crawford either. So that leaves again Dayton and Bridgewater, and as you can see, both areas have nice areas to shop. And number one or number two?
I'm going to say Bridgewater's number one.
I can see why you would say that. Okay, I put them number two.
People.
Correct, and you're going to find a lot of stores there. I put them number two. Okay.
Why did you do that?
The reason I put them number two is while there are some shops and things like that downtown, I really like the feel of Dayton. And there's some shops downtown, and they have the downtown area where you can shop, and they also have the Dayton Market. Which is kind of like a mall type, mini mall type place with 18 different vendors, and have a chocolate place in there, and just it's
all right. I'll give
place.
You that.
Yeah,
okay.
And so like I say, there's probably more in Bridgewater per se, and so maybe this is prejudice according to Dayton, but either one of them great areas to go.
like.
Yeah, great areas to go, great areas to find little different shops in town.
Right.
So let's talk about arts and culture.
All right.
Okay, number 4.
Mount Solon.
I would go with Mount Crawford. And the reason I go with Mount Crawford is because really not, again, it's more of an industrial town, not much there, but Mount Solon at least has the theater out there at the Natural Chimneys area, and they do some productions in the summertime,
Sure.
concerts and things like that.
All right.
So, but next I would say is Dayton. Dayton has a really nice, they have actually 3 Civil War trails that you can follow in Dayton. Actually a guided tour around Dayton, and you can go to different buildings. Of course, they also they have a blacksmithing shop there. They have a harness shop as well. So kind of some historical things there in town, some shops that you could visit, a little bit of the culture of the area. But by far, the town that has the most arts and culture in it has to be Bridgewater. Of course, being a college town, you have the theater at Bridgewater College at Cole Hall, multiple play performances throughout the year, and different musical venues, and just a lot of things there. You also have the Rockingham Ballet Theater. Now, the Rockingham Ballet Theater, their building is there in Bridgewater, but they go to different theaters throughout the area, and they perform in it right there in Bridgewater. But the Sight Center is right on the main drag downtown, and it is a really neat place to go to watch a play. You can watch musical events take place there. You can go for a comedy night, comedy shows, things like that. And so very vibrant, a lot of activities on their calendar throughout the year in the Sight Center. So you really have a lot of the arts there right in Bridgewater. And so finally we have, what are some things to do
I'm bored.
in some of the towns?
I'm bored. Tell me what's to do.
So, well, Mount Crawford, again, you got some baseball games. And here's the thing, all of these towns, they have different festivals throughout the year.
They do.
Okay, and so you're going to find something, and if not in that particular town, another town nearby. There just always seems like something going on up here in the Shenandoah Valley. And so, but I would say Mount Crawford, just because, kind of some of the things we've talked about. Mount Solon, as a matter of fact, one of the things at Mount Solon that they have things to do is every year they actually have one of the oldest jousting festivals in the United States. It started in 1821, and it takes place out there at the National Chimneys Park, and it's one of the largest on the East Coast. So for over 200 years, they've had this jousting festival. Right. So, like I say, some events going on there. Of course, Dayton. Dayton, you've got the Silver Lake Mill that's there. You've got some of the shopping that's downtown, the smaller stores and some of the restaurants that there. So there's a few things, some of the parks that are there as well. And one of the biggest things, though, about Dayton is one of their festivals. But you said it was the what?
It's like the most attended festival, one of the most attended festivals
here in the area.
Yeah.
Dayton Days is the name of it.
Dayton Days is the name of it. It happens every fall, and I'm not kidding you. They shut the entire town down, the entire street. They set up tables in the street. They have numbered booth areas, and Dayton has like these 2 streets that go into it and comes to a Y. Both of those streets out into the country. I mean,
hundreds of vendors.
Hundreds of vendors there. Food and arts and crafts and different demonstrations of how to do those arts and crafts. It was just crazy.
Yeah,
really was.
Yeah, it's a really neat event, and if you get a chance to go there, it's in the fall. And
they shut down this entire field on a farm outside of town, and you park in there, and it's free to park, but just be
if you get a parking place there. Otherwise, you might have to go half mile up the road.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
But anyway, that's Dayton Days. That's every fall, and I'll tell you what, it really is. It's a really
here to come visit if you're visiting from out of the area. It's beautiful.
It really is. So.
And it's cold.
So that means, well, that sounds like that should be number 1 then. Well, I think Bridgewater probably is, because when you talk about things to do, you've got the parks, you've got the golf, you've got the college, you've got the most restaurants of any of the places, and so there's just a lot to do in Bridgewater.
The college influences that town so much in all those ways.
No doubt. So at the beginning of the video, I told you.
He wasn't going to say much.
No, that's what I said. I told you I was going to describe each one of these towns in 5 words or less. So that means that there may be other things as well about these towns. These are some of the things that stick out to me, and I hope you go in the comments and leave a comment. Do it 5 words or less. How would you describe each town in 5 words or less? Be interested to see those comments.
Exactly.
So with that being said, let's start out with the first town that we visited. That was Dayton. To me, kind of like we just talked about, Dayton Days. It's such a big event, and boy, just something that town just really does a great job with every single year. I think Mount Crawford, to me, I would say industry and ice cream.
No, he's got it backward. Ice cream and industry.
Okay, you can see where her values lie. So, now the ice cream is really good there, but we like that little ice cream place there. Not little.
Caramel chocolate chunk.
Yeah.
In a sugar cup.
So, industry and ice cream and industry, however you want to look at that. Okay. So I think Bridgewater College. It is a big part of the town, and not the only part of the town, and but it is a big part of the town. And then finally, Mount Solon, and not number 4. Okay.
No.
I would say Natural Chimneys Park.
Right.
And I know we've talked a lot about it in this video, but it's just a really neat place to go and at least see it one time, and just, like I say, take a kayak out there and jump in the river as well, and do whatever. So, but that being said, that's my explanation of these 4 towns in 5 words or less.
He did it, people. He did it.
Well, I hope you've enjoyed this ranking video, and like I say, let us know what you think. Maybe you've got a different set of rankings, and we totally understand that, or just how some of the data that we've looked up, and just kind of how some of our views of it. But like I say, if you're living in one of these towns and you're looking to sell your home, you want somebody that knows about your town and somebody that can help you. Additionally, if you're looking to move from another town into a town, if you're out of the area and you're looking to move into the area, you want somebody that knows about the area. And we love our area, and we love our time that we spend in these towns.
And again, some of those industries do use relocation companies, and I do work with relocation companies. So if you are moving into the area and being hired by one of the companies and have to use a relocation company, please don't hesitate to let us know. We are able to work with you.
Yeah. And so, like I always say, just pick up the phone, give us a call, shoot us a text. You watch our videos, you know the drill by now. But we'd love to hear from you so that we can help you and provide you with the best information possible to help you make an informed real estate decision. So, and with that being said, until next time, we'll see you around town.